Welcome to another edition of Research Fantasy Presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Sunday, April 16th, 2017. I'm your host, Nick Valinchek, better known as Nick from CWE on all of your favorite daily fantasy sites, and I'm here to give you my top three pitchers for this Easter Sunday slate of baseball. Admittedly, when I looked at this last night, I was very excited. I think there are quite a few angles that we can go with our pitching today, which is excellent. Always a good thing to see. Let's get things started off with the ace on the mound tonight, that being Jon Lester of the Chicago Cubs, priced at $10,300 on FanDuel. I'll be using FanDuel pricing in this video today, as I usually do with my MLB videos. Lester, one of the better pitchers in all of baseball over the past few years, really limits a lot of contact, doesn't give up a ton of hard contact, is a fly ball pitcher to right-handed hitting, which isn't entirely uncommon. Getting a Pittsburgh Pirates team that struck out 23% of the time, had a league average ISO, but did hit the ball fairly well as had some hard contact against left-handed pitching. So admittedly, this is kind of a situation where the opponent is not what's dictating why I want to play Lester. It's mostly just because Lester's a great pitcher. He's pitching in a pitcher's park they're in Chicago. Anyway, so it's not as great of a pitcher's park, but he's still been a really dominant pitcher over the last few years, starting the year off right. 1 earned run in both games, 7 strikeouts in both games. His start would have been a quality start against the Cardinals, but it only went 5 innings. You need 6 innings to get a quality start. I think he should be in for that. Just not a big fan of this Pittsburgh Pirates team. The left-handed bats, which aren't really relevant today, haven't been coming around. There is some concern, I guess. David Freese, who does hit left-handed pitching really well, has been on fire as of late. For people who believe in that type of thing, it is what it is. For what it's worth, he did go 0 for 4 at the plate yesterday. This being a different situation, though, I think you have to watch out for him a little bit. But I just, at the end of the day, if David Freese is the guy I'm most concerned about, and it's not, it's going to be Starling Marte. But I think he should be able to navigate around this lineup. 7 strikeouts sounds about right for what I'd expect here. 1 run sounds about right for what I would expect here. So I think we should see him come in with around another 40-point offering tonight. Next up, there's a couple of choices you could go with. I mean, just looking at this kind of next up pitcher, you're looking at guys like Carlos Carrasco, Gio Gonzalez, Matt Harvey, J.A. Happ. And to tell you the truth, I really don't have much of an issue with any of those guys today. I think that all of those people are playable. I think that, every one of them, again, you're not going to find many situations where you don't find red flags with pitchers. If you want pure strikeout upside, you're not going to look anywhere else but Carlos Carrasco. If you want to look at a game where somebody might be able to go 7 or 8 innings and keep the pitch count low, probably isn't going to have a ton of strikeouts, but probably isn't going to give up a ton of runs, I think you're looking at Matt Harvey. For me today, as much as I don't want to do it, I'm going to be looking at Gio Gonzalez of the Washington Nationals going up against the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, 2016 data, not necessarily directly applicable to 2017, but what we do see with Gonzalez is we see that he has the top overall matchup by far, because not only couldn't the Phillies hit left-handed pitching, they couldn't hit them hard, they weren't making good contact, and they were striking out at slightly above average rates last year. So this paints a picture for Gio of having a pretty strong outing. I mean, you're really looking at Maikel Franco, Tommy Joseph. Stop me whenever you really start to get threatened by the names on this list. Cesar Hernandez. I'm just not that intimidated by this lineup when it comes to left-handed pitching. That isn't to say I don't expect Gio to let one into the stands, but I think could be another quality start, another win for Gio. I really like the Nats bats, so I think he'll have the backing to get things done today. And I'm really strongly considering Gio for my SP 1 or 2 today on DraftKings. Next up, we'll drop a little bit lower, and I'm going to go with Drew Pomeranz of the Boston Red Sox up against the Tampa Bay Rays. And this Rays team is an insanely frustrating team in the early portion of the season. You just don't know when it is a good time to target them. I'm hoping it's going to be tonight. Pomeranz was a guy who, he was one of my babies last year. I say that because I was on him in the early part of last year, and all the articles are still there on Research Fantasy, so I'm just not talking out of my rear end, but I was really on to Pomeranz heavily at the beginning of the season, and he was turning out really strong results for a Padres team that just wasn't very good, and then the move happened to Boston, and things didn't go very well there. But here he is in year 2, had a really strong opening outing against, I believe, the Baltimore Orioles, which isn't a really... It's a scarier offense, but it can also fall apart. But still, quality start, a win, only gave up 1 run, showed about a strikeout an inning upside. That's great for me because when you're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, you're talking about a team that struck out just about the most last year against left-handed pitching, 25.4%. That's the highest strikeout, the second highest strikeout rate on this slate by handedness. So just in general, but it's the top against lefties. Few things maybe we don't like to see. The WOBA was again just about average. Hard contact, a little bit of concern. ISO, a little bit of concern. But more or less, I think that outside of their home park, Pomeranz pitching pretty well. He's a guy that's not throwing the knuckleball like Stephen Wright, who I refuse to ever trust again. I don't care if he loses me all the money. He's dead to me. But Pomeranz is a guy I want to look at tonight. I don't mind, and this is just me, and I'm always a guy who ends up taking more risks in my cash games than I really need to. A lot of times I take my cash game lineup and I'm playing it in some of the bigger tournaments that I do, so I do take a little more risk, but I don't put anybody in that I'm not comfortable with. Gio Pomeranz stack on DraftKings leaves you with basically whatever amount of money that you want to spend. That's what I like to hear. I could load up on the bats I like. One more name I'm going to throw out here, and this is just a pure punt. In all of the senses of punt, because you don't know what you're going to get. Sal Romano, big kid, going up against a Brewers team that we've seen strike out, though we've seen them absolutely mash the ball lately as well. The deal with him is he's kind of like an undercover prospect from what I've been reading. There's a lot of hope that this kid can step in for a banged up and awful Royals pitching staff. You know that things aren't going right when you've got Scott Feldman and Bronson Arroyo out there trying to pretend like it's a long time ago in baseball. Is this a slate where you have to try to get cute like that? I don't think so, but I wouldn't be shocked if players were like, okay, rookie coming in, let's stack all the Brewers against him, and that just doesn't work out. So that's just my take on things. Will I have some exposure to guys like Jonathan Villar, Eric Thames? Absolutely. Hard to not look in those directions, but I'm reducing what my overall ownership of those guys will be. All right, this ran a little longer than I wanted it to, and I apologize to that. Our next video will be a little bit shorter. In the meantime, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to researchfantasy.com. Sign up for our MLB mailing list. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win. And join us again tomorrow.